An atmosphere unlike any other as Michigan got the big win over Washington. We are joined now by Anthony Bellino. You see him every morning here on BCSN with the X's and Bros show. And Anthony, thank you for joining us. And what a night it was in the big house on Saturday.
Yeah, the electricity was, it was through the roof. Had I not needed to be in Detroit at 7 a.m. for a 1 o'clock kickoff for the Lions game, I'm taking that up with management, a sternly written letter. I would have been there. A lot of my friends went and they went to the tailgate, and I said, hey, whatever you see, whatever you hear, however you're feeling, text me. And they were like, what do you want us to text me? I said, text me what, you need to be able to share this experience with me, since I'm only going to be able to see it while we're in the stadium for the actual game itself, and I'll only be watching it through television, so I won't be able to have that same feeling. And the response that I got from them, those that attended the tailgate and attended the game, was the feeling that, look, we haven't had this in a long time. A lot of people referenced, a lot of them referenced Wisconsin a few years back. What was that, 2018? Yeah. 20, I think it was 2018 when they routed Wisconsin. But to have the maze out and have that executed as well as it did, if anybody saw the Goodyear blimp, flyover shots, the big house looked awesome. It was a Jim Harbaugh commenting, as you said, coming from the break and coming from that soundbite right there, just about taking his headset off and listening to take it all in. I thought that really spoke volumes to how this team, and Washington coming in, getting a delay of game on the first play. We love to see that. And there is an element to the 12th man. It does exist. Home field advantage does exist if your crowd cares enough. If that care level is up there, and they don't turn to apathy, or they don't turn to basically neglect of being a fan, you buy in, you buy a maize shirt, you wear it to the game, and you create a ruckus and a bunch of noise, because we all know with the way that the big house extends outward, it isn't necessarily the best for acoustics, and sometimes you lose a little bit of sound. They built those giant press boxes up the sides, hopefully helping to keep that in, while adding some luxury seating, might I add. Still no quality beverage service up there. We can get into that another day, but neither here nor there. So they're attempting, and I like the response from the Michigan fans. Obviously, Washington's lost to Montana the week before, kind of sucked some of the wind out of the sails. It would have been awesome if Washington would have been able to handle their business and came in at number 15 in the nation. But we all saw Saturday night, that is not a top 25 team in the nation, the Washington Huskies. They've got some soul searching to do out west.
Michigan now a top 25 team after that win over Washington. And that game maybe hinged early in the second quarter with a fake punt. I guess that's probably more evidence that the Jim Harbaugh swagger is back, as he went for the fake on 4th and 1 at his own 30-yard line, and that changed the momentum of that game.
It really did. In no way, shape, or form did anybody expect on 4th and 1. You fake a punt, you snap it straight to the up man, and then there you go. You get the first down. And I think what's really interesting about that sort of play right there is that, the defense just sprinted off the field to get the special teams unit onto the field. Then you fake the punt, you get that the first down conversion there. Special teams leaves the field. Offense is running back on. Defense they just went and sat down. Helmets back on and rush back out there. Michigan takes quick advantage with the Blake Corum score, the very next play. That was really, I thought that was really kind of an under talked about, under discussed point about that series and sequence of events right there, is the fact that Washington's sprinting on and off the field, and they're trying to keep up. And with that line of scrimmage, the way that they played, that was going to be a challenge. But a really gutsy call that paid off. And I've been I like the aggressiveness. I thought we saw some aggressiveness also in Southeast Michigan on Sunday with some of the play calls there. I like it. Sometimes you have to dig your heels and improve a point, and I think that Michigan did that against Washington. I think it's important that we remind ourselves who is on the schedule and who they were playing. You can do things like that against Washington. You look at the end of the season, you're not going to be able to pull some things off like that. But it's a gutsy call, and also put something on film to make other teams a little bit aware of now, to maybe play a little bit more cautious.
A gutsy call on the fake punt, but then after that, it was pretty much run. And as we heard earlier this week from Jim Harbaugh, George Patton got it done on the ground. Neil Armstrong got it done in the air. As long as the mission is accomplished, it doesn't matter how you get it done. As Blake Corum and Hassan Haskins carried the load quite literally, as they had combined for over 300 yards rushing, as Michigan just pounded the ball, and controlled the time of possession.
Yeah, Mark, you look at this game, and I tweeted this on Saturday night. I don't necessarily know how to feel, or how you can complain about your team winning a football game. The 1-2 punch in the backfield, both go over 150 yards. Blake Corum had 21 carries for 170 71 and 3 touchdowns. Hassan Haskins, 27 carries for 155 and a score. I thought Hassan Haskins, if you compared the two, Hassan, I mean, that guy, he is like a brick. And Blake Corman's a great complimentary back with his shiftiness and his quickness to be able to make cuts and get through holes. And he wants to play with a little bit of power as well. But when you run the ball 56 times in total for 343, 343 in yardage and 4 touchdowns, it's really difficult to complain. And I know that, some of the same people that I was texting the group, they're wondering about the pass game. They very eloquently asked, why isn't Michigan throwing the ball at all? And I realized that Washington does have a couple of guys who could play on Sundays at the cornerback position. I looked back to week number 1. I said, okay, to myself, I'm thinking, okay, well, Cade did have that really nice pass that went to, Ronnie Bell, and, all the best to him now having to rehab through surgery and whatnot. It's not like, and that was a perfectly timed ball. It's not like Cade can't throw it, and it's hard for me to complain, but also kind of hard to digest how Michigan won that football game, throwing 7 of 15 for 44 yards. I heard somebody bring up, 1995. It was how many yards did Brian Greasy throw for? And nobody knew the answer, and he said exactly. No, nobody remembers. All they remember is Tim Bianca Batuka, and it's a really good point. So you win the football game in this week against Washington. Next week against Northern Illinois. Probably not the same defensive back prowess there in the secondary. Maybe you can work on some things in the pass game. But all in all, when your offensive line is absolutely owning the line of scrimmage, dominating from the point of attack, that makes life really difficult. And it's tough not to just say, we can just run the ball the rest of the game if they can't stop it. And there's nothing more demeaning to a defense that had one of their linebackers talking about, we know Michigan wants to run the ball. We're going to stop the run. We're looking forward to doing that at the Big House. Okay, sure. Now I'm looking forward to winning, getting 7 digits to the lotto. I don't think that's going to happen either, young man, but it's worth thinking about, right? So I think that when Michigan runs the football like that, it's tough to ask them to pass the ball because they're having so much success. It did kind of make it feel like 1947 again, but I look back to 1947, and if my memory serves me correctly, Michigan won the national championship that year, so I'm okay with it.
What's more impressive to you, the fact that Michigan defense did a good job of keeping Washington out of the end zone? Because, in this day and age, to hold a Power 5 team to just 10 points, that says quite a bit about what the Michigan defense is capable of doing. The offense certainly helped out by keeping the Washington offense on the field, those long drives. But defensively, the Wolverines really came to play against the Huskies.
It really did, and I don't know if that's more Michigan or more Washington at this point. Still, Washington being without, I think, 4 wide receivers that would have played a role, on their depth chart, and still very much kind of concerned and cautious with the way Washington caught fire there at the end of the game. It's like, where was that play calling early? Like, why didn't you move the ball like this in the beginning of the game? I don't think that Michigan sat back on their heels. I thought that Washington was beating them on a couple of drives, and the amount of pressure that they were able to apply. I think that Aiden Hutchinson is not only everything that Michigan fans thought Rashawn Gary would be, but I also think that they use him in such a way that it puts him in a position to be successful. And he's going to have an impact on the game. And I remember when Rashawn was, signing with the Stars and all that. And the guy down in Columbus, Chase Young, he gets quadruple teamed every play. And he's still got that production. Aiden Hutchinson, with his motor, is still getting to the quarterback. He's still all over the ball. I like the way that the linebackers played. The secondary, I think that there are still some concerns there. And Mark, I'm going to be honest. I know that this game didn't happen last year, but I'm still very much traumatized by what took place in 2019. So until the secondary gets challenged in such a way that a team like Ohio State did back in 2019, until they're challenged like that and they answer the bell and they say, hey, you can't pass on us because we will lock you down, then I have to see it to believe it, unlike Santa Claus.
Michigan goes from one set of Huskies to the next as Northern Illinois is the opponent on a Saturday. And Anthony, let me ask you this. How much does Michigan have to prepare against maybe a letdown because they played so well against the Washington Huskies and now a lesser opponent coming to town on a Saturday afternoon?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, one, you got to play the games that are in front of you, but 2, if I'm on that Michigan Michigan coaching staff all throughout Schembechler Hall, I'm going to remind that defense of what the young man playing quarterback by the name of Rocky Lombardi did to them last year as 24.5-point favorites. Not like they need to mention the spread, but I do because I'm interested in things like that. To be that big of a favorite to lose by home because Rocky Lombardi absolutely diced your defense. He shredded them, and I would have his face everywhere so that the defense is so sick and tired of seeing him that Saturday becomes one of the worst days of his life. And I know that that sounds kind of harsh, but it's a physical game. So kids, you might want to close your eyes on this one. They need to be aware of exactly who is back there at quarterback. They need to have a feeling that this is not going to be a fun 60 minutes of football for that man for the way that he handled them last year. I don't think you don't try to get too far ahead of yourself. You have to play the games on the schedule, which I'm very much reminded of all the time on the internet about who the level of competition is that Michigan is. They're 2-0. They're in the top 25. There does seem to be a little bit of momentum going, but I'm also very cautious because I've been down this path before, right? It literally is one game, 1 week at a time. It might just be Northern Illinois on the schedule, but if I'm that coaching staff, that quarterback back there, he beat you last year. He beat you bad. He embarrassed you. Make sure that he remembers the last time that he played in the big house.
All right, thank you very much, Anthony Bellino, host of X's and Bros. You see it every morning here on BCSN. Anthony, thank you again.
Mark, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.